definitely when you go to do fundraising, check it, like Lowe's, Honeybrook Hardware, they might be able to either give you gift cards or help you with stuff like that. A lot of businesses will actually help with you, but I don't know, do you guys have there's usually a form that you have to write out saying it's a Eagle Scout project and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But definitely check local businesses, they might help donate money or donate, supplies.
Do you have Jackson's contact information?
Yes.
Okay, so once my contact gets back to me, I will get it to you so we can forward it to you.
And then we should show up for the first or second visit?
Yes, so I know the roadmaster will be here the first Monday, or the first Wednesday of October, because it's our budget discussion. And then just, I'm usually sitting up there, but I'll recognize you guys and put you in touch with Don, the roadmaster.
So no questions?
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Looks like a good project.
You've been carrying it around.
You're just burning a hole in your pocket.
You're just giving them away buckets of money.
Yeah.
That's why I went second.
What's that?
That's why you put me second.
It seemed like a good cause.
I'm motivated a little.
As we're ready for budget discussion.
So if you don't mind, yeah, listen,
Lauren, can we go over one quick thing? I don't know if you know the answer to it.
sure,
In his project, I'll get over to
sure.
the second box, this guy.
Yes.
where It's,
He says he will, we're funding the rest of it.
Beneficiary.
Well, it says, he will try to exceed estimates to try to.
So, yeah, this is written that if he can't raise the funds, he's gonna ask the municipality to purchase.
Materials.
Yeah, and he said $1,000.
Yeah.
okay.
And you don't mind helping some, but I'd like you to put it.
So the person I have, I didn't ask him to give him a donation, I told him to. It's a
Video there, you do know.
No, so local developers,
Yeah.
it's a local developer that actually does have a whole section of their office that just deals with giving back to the community. So jokingly speaking, they do
They do
fund a
this.
ton of donations, they do understand the gift of volunteering,
Yeah.
and they do understand that it's a local builder, that they build to the highest standards, but my friend owns a bookstore, he's like the black sheep of their company. The reality is that if I reach out to him and said there's someone that needs some assistance to make a project happen for a municipality that they have built in,
They'll do it.
yes, he's gonna, yes. And again, like, my goal to him is say, like,
Crazy.
give Jackson some time to find other sources and then come back to you for the shortfall, and hopefully the shortfall is nothing.
Yeah.
Right, because me
And
just
then
making
when
him, like me just finding the donation for him, I think that loses the whole purpose of
The
the
value
Eagle
of
Scout.
the
So I will tell my
experience.
friend, like, hey, like, maybe give him some advice and say, come back in 60 days and tell us how's it
Or
going.
we'll match your contribution.
Yeah, something like that. And so the reality is,
Raise
like,
$1, we'll give you 5, something
Yeah,
like that.
and the joke of it is that, you know, the library needed some additional funds, and I went to them and said, you know, this builder has a library named after their mom, you can give a little bit to ours, and he's like, yeah, I'll match half of whatever the fundraising is. So again, it's not,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're not doing it for me, they're doing it for the Jacksons and the communities.
Yeah, okay.
But the purpose of the project for him is to.
Develop
reduce
like,
your
yeah,
costs.
It's a leadership project.
Yes, and so we want to encourage that and not just, yeah, sure, go ahead and do it.
correct, because if we, I could have them built tomorrow, but that's not the purpose of the Eagle Scout
Can't do it.
process, so.
So let's have patience and hopefully he can come through for us.
Well, he has till May for this one,
So budgeting, I know previous to my tenure, I don't believe, has a manager ever come and asked you guys to, okay, great.
but.
So
No, we've been
we're doing it
having
by
a
the book.
basic budget.
So if you read the ordinance that establishes the Racking Park Committee, you are in charge as the board of what should be going on at the park and you have oversight of it. So while I don't expect you to understand the budget process because you haven't done it before, again, I spoke to Kevin over some time and I've listened and I've spoken with Miranda, so I believe I understand what some of the needs are. My goal is to maybe talk through what we want to do, what the board wants to do, and my job is to bring it back to the board of supervisors and clearly show what the ask is, and it could be a lot of things, what our priorities are, what the board's priorities are, and how do we fund it. So currently, there is no revenue source that goes directly into the rec funds. During my tenure over the last 2 years, I believe, by looking at the park, that it is in need of continual upgrades and maintenance. So over the past 2 years of my tenure here, we have transferred $60,000 from the general funds into rec so that we can, just fixing stuff. That doesn't mean it can't be used for capital projects, but the intent is, I don't want the Department of Public Works to say, we don't want to expend our budget and put a new roof on the pavilion because that's $20,000 less than we have to use on our road work. So there is funds sitting over there. Obviously, for those that aren't aware, the Board of Supervisors has agreed to give the $800,000 plus interest back that had been transferred out of land preservation back into land preservation funds once the phase one, which is the skate park, is completed. I'm making the assumption that we'll probably make that transfer the first week of January. The skate park has to be finished by the DCNR grant by the end of this year. We could ask for an extension, but I do believe they're going to be done by October. So I had looked at resurfacing the tennis and basketball courts. Last year we had the quote, I think it was $336,000. I think the board has had copies of that. Keystone, it's a CoStarz vendor, which means we don't have to competitively bid it. I brought it to the board. Some members of the public had suggested that maybe we apply for a DCNR grant, which we have currently for the skate park, which I thought was a great idea. So we have in fact applied for one. That award should be coming, notice if we get it or not, in the next handful of months. So the concern is, does the board want to repay that at the full cost, or only if we get partial cost, or kind of what I kind of indicated a little bit ago to start off the meeting, is that parking is an issue. The 4-phase plan for Humboldt Park that had started before I came here did show parking in a horseshoe up around the top, and that was removing all of those courts and putting them elsewhere in that 11-acre park. That came at a 2019 cost of $4.2 million. Right, so I can only assume in 2025 numbers that's $7 million, right? So when I got here, I had inquired what the funding revenue source was, and there really wasn't, except for this $225,000 matching grant for phase one, which was $770,000, which really just included the skate park, drying out the pavilion area in the back, relocating a tennis or basketball court up front, and parking wasn't actually until phase 3.
Yeah.
Right, so we're talking maybe 7 or 8 years down the road. And it was also kind of implied that this park plan wasn't meant to go 1, 2, 3, 4. They were probably going to do phase 1, phase 3, and then skip out 1, 2, and 4. And I looked at the plan and said, without it, 1 through 4 looks incomplete, and an incomplete park just isn't a great facility, I think, to have. So, since I've been here, the parking spots have been where the skate park has been when baseball season is in place, because I don't know how many people field 3 fields. It's 2 teams, coaches, and I don't know. Like 6 cars show up to watch one kid play baseball. They don't carpool. So with the skate park coming in, there's going to be no way that cars could even drive up the trail and drive back down where the old volleyball court was, which I still don't figure out why there was a volleyball court in Brook Township. But so it got me thinking that we need to open up the park, and I had spoken with the president of the baseball association there, because they have been parking in the church lot miscommunication, which has led to some back and forth, and I was just told there's no way that they can field 3 fields. So if they can't, without raising parking, it might be an ideal spot to remove one of the fields. And Steve, I think can you confirm on your time on the board that they have now started using other municipalities'
They do.
fields, where a couple of years ago, I believe it was only our park and the old field behind Honeybrook Elementary.
Correct. They, Carnarvon Township, and then obviously the high school.
Right, so now it seems like there's more availability for the baseball association to utilize, whether they both control municipalities, I believe, or a handful. Right, so that most municipalities do have parks that probably have some ball fields. So I guess my question is this board interested in resurfacing the tennis courts as it is, or did what I kind of said is thinking of maybe making that parking and take a look at that removing the upper ball field of interest, and if that's the case, I would highly recommend not supporting resurfacing that tennis court.
Not to the extent that you're talking.
Right, because it's $336,000.
And some of our Friday nights, of course, we sit there and think of things with around there. One thing we talked about was maybe moving the front ballpark.
Well, so any
And
of the
there's cars that, cars for park, but we could all, that would be open space then.
right. So I guess my question is, if you're thinking about doing additional reconfiguration of that park, maybe we hold off on asking the board of supervisors to approve, such a large expense.
You've already submitted grant request.
Correct, but we don't have to
And
accept
that's
the grant.
still-
And I've talked to DCNR because, again, the initial grant was a match of 225 for 770,000. Filled out, and I called, that's not, are we upsetting you as the township, reducing the amount of the program, which is gonna reduce the amount of the grant match? And they go, no, we actually appreciate if you've had a change of heart, because if you tell us you're not gonna take it, then that opens up another applicant who didn't get it to get those funds. And if the board is even somewhat interested in what I just said, I wouldn't say like this, take the grant because we feel like we're committed, build it, we'll find another way to do something else,
Is there a
Well, we're
expiration
I'm
on
sorry.
when you have to, like, if they extend the grant, how long do you have to say if you're gonna do it or not? Like,
So you have to accept the grant. So we accepted this current grant right when COVID hit. So they gave us a year extension just because nobody was doing construction projects. So our current project for phase 1, which is the skate park, is due at the end of December. If we came back to them and said, it rained for 9 weeks, by the time we decided to pour concrete, it turned 15 below, we need a grant extension until next June, so things can thaw, plants back open, they would grant it to us. But if they offer us the grant, we can always accept it, and at some point just say, like, we've thought long and hard, we're just gonna officially,
so how long do you have to do that?
well, we haven't gotten the grant.
But like, if we do.
How long do we have to accept the grant? I don't know.
Because I'm wondering, what we discussed was that we thought that the field there at the front was the best one to remove, because then we would open up the space there for the Amish that are playing volleyball, or, that wanna, like,
So
play frisbee.
you generally don't want people parking on grass, you probably want a parking lot.
Yeah, we
which
weren't
is-
talking for parking.
Oh,
We
okay.
were just saying to have that space.
I think it would give us the overflow on these opening nights, and that it's not like every day we need massive amounts.
Right, and again, I would want to talk to the baseball association to see, like, if a field, again, it's our facility.
Yeah.
But obviously, we want to be good stewards and good neighbors to our community partners with the baseball association that has been here since the park has opened.
Mhm.
That if we said, listen, this is our plan, if you had your say, or which field is least useful. Now, I will tell you, the roadmaster thought the top one is the most level field, it would require the least amount of filtering. And the further you go down, you're gonna be dealing with stormwater, runoff. Again, all the fields are generally level, so you're gonna be playing ball on it. So, as a former officer, it's just a remote parking lot. Right? Even the skate park up front, at 10 o'clock at night, there's probably one car drive by every 2-3 hours. Because it's still mostly Amish on this, on Supply. There's not, I mean, there's cut through for Talbotville, but that's mostly people coming to and from doing activities during the daytime. You typically do, so you have to look at it two ways. One, do you want your facilities up front, which means pushing the parking in the back, or do you want your facilities in the back and parking up front? Either way, something can happen. If the parking is in the back, then people can go park, but they would be less apt to vandalize the facilities because they're roadside.
I know during the whole planning part, I can't remember everyone's name, but part of all the discussions and planning is having the parking lot back there also gave police the ability to drive back there and get pretty darn close to the pavilion,
Correct.
as opposed to,
Correct. Well, and I will tell you that Don has closed off the stakes across the walking trail, probably the best. But it has reduced the amount of vandalism, probably about 95%.
that's what
So, you know, if you did it with the tennis courts, it's no different than the back parking lot of the church. It's almost aligned with the church. It's a little bit higher up.
You put lights up there too, because you're right next to the,
You can put lights. I will just tell you, the people that want to do damage will do damage. The people that don't want to do damage won't. And again, the only neighbors that are Amish. They generally don't call the police. They generally don't get involved in things outside of the community. And our roadmaster used to live right there, and he said like one of the reasons like he had it was just like he just heard it all night. He had to keep calling the police and like just keep on it. So.
I think an important question is how much parking do we see under the court? Because if baseball isn't playing there, like is opening day gonna be there?
I would assume
Like
it would
if
be.
they're done playing there,
Well, I'm not saying they're done playing there, but if we
Yeah.
remove one of the fields, that will force them to start utilizing other locations.
yeah.
And then maybe opening day,
They've never scheduled well. They condense everything, so it's done and over with.
pretty
They,
quick, right?
yeah, if they staggered it, they would never have a parking problem. What they do is they condense 3 games,
Yeah.
condense 3 games, condense 2 games, they're done for the day.
Because I think when we were having our initial discussion, we were thinking more about the other users of the park and having that open area
Correct.
for them to use. We weren't thinking much about the parking situation. So I'm just wondering, depending on which direction we would go, how much parking do we have need for outside of baseball?
loss of the field that existing parking might be enough, except for open place situation.
I
and
don't
rare
mind.
occasions. And then you could park on the grass and that.
And
But you said you don't want to park on grass.
you typically don't want to park on
So what
grass.
if, I mean, happy medium, take, I'm throwing ballpark.
since we're redoing the front parking lot anyway, take
Yeah, I
another
mean, if it's
20
just,
spaces.
yeah, 20 spaces, 10 spaces, if we have, I don't know, 1,000 square feet and we're splitting it, 500 going towards
So
recreation stuff and another 500 going to parking, I mean, what, I don't know, I mean,
your goal is to promote, since it's the only township park, you want as much active open space and only the amount of parking that you need. Right, because parking used to be, it was called the Christmas Day parking in planning, that if you go to a mall, 364 days of the year, the parking lot is 10% full, but planning and zoning used to make sure that you had every available parking spot for every single person, if every single person needed to show up at capacity. And that's an old school thought now. The reality is, if we double the amount of parking spots and that many people were sharing fields, would they be having an enjoyable time? Or would they be crowded? And again, if we had multiple parks, it'd be much easier to solve this problem of moving baseball fields through 3 or 4 different facilities, but we don't. And I guess that's the hard thing is, if baseball wasn't a big primary focus of Humboldt Park, with the current amount of parking spots, be fine. And I don't know the answer. And I feel horrible in bringing it up for the sheer fact that this is Twin Valley's home field, they've always been here, and they've had a ton of fields here, but I kind of looking at it that you serve 8,200 people, and I don't know how many people play ball, but I could probably assume that most of those ball fields are probably empty 99% of the time. And this baseball fields, by the very nature, because they have fencing up, it's almost like a no trespassing sign.
Yep.
I can never recall that all the parks I go to with my son or my kids and my dog, that I ever decided to walk my dog on a ball field. It just felt weird. It just felt like I shouldn't be there.
Yep.
So again, the point of bringing that up in the discussion is, am I hearing that we should maybe pause on the court resurfacing for the 330,000, and maybe instead put some of that money back into not even a park study, but maybe some time to have our landscape architect come back out and maybe meet with the board again and say, we've had a couple of years to think about it. What's this look like? But we don't want a $4 million project. What can you do for whatever number that you would feel comfortable in highest again and say, put $1 million, 1.5 into that park, which hasn't probably been touched since it's been developed, would be a reasonable request.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty much in agreement that getting rid of one of the is a good idea.
Okay. What are your thoughts about the tennis courts? I mean, again, we can always revisit it once. If we get the DCNR grant, that might make the decision a little bit more poignant, but if we don't get the grant,
I like maybe moving the tennis courts or something down to where the field is.
Or
And-
down,
And then
Moving
like,
it
shifting
somewhere.
stuff around, maybe take half of that area and make it parking. 'Cause, I mean, for parking, we wouldn't have to resurface that. I mean, maybe put a seal coat on it and
and that's what we were talking about. We can just put, it might be $3,000 to put the cat on.
Yeah, and what we had talked about too, was one of our budget items was new basketball poles. And
So that's all part of that bid.
so
Yeah,
would
that's
that
all.
solve kind of two birds with one stone is because if you're resurfacing, I would think that you need to pull those poles.
So that resurfacing quote included breaking out the poles, putting new ones in.
New fence,
Yes.
Basically says it's
Well, we have that.
Okay,
So we would do that as they did it.
not.
So we
Okay.
have new mats, we have new vacuums, the problem is when we put them up, they get vandalized very quick.
yeah,
So,
that makes sense.
yeah,
We used them and it was.
okay.
Um,
But again, but I don't know how much building a new facility would cost.
yeah,
It's gonna be more than 360, I'm assuming it's probably close to $500,000.
well, those baseball fields, like you said, are flat. So
Right, so we don't have to worry about grading, we have to worry about building, so we can pave 1 mile of road for about $150,000, because all of our equipment can drive on roads that are several feet thick. Build those courts like that, so we can't use our equipment. So then you're required to use a specialty company that has the smaller equipment, like the bid company, who have the small mill heads, who have the ability to not damage
all of those.
everything,
Yeah.
right? And that's what, because again, when the guy gave me a quote, goes, I can do 2.5 miles of road for the price tag to repair the courts, but that's what it costs, because it's a specialty
Yeah. I mean,
system.
What do we think about, because I think it's a bigger discussion, because it's a lot to try to figure this out in one day, and we need to think about which field we would remove.
Well, I'm just saying, we're gonna present a budget to the board in October, just a preliminary budget. The other option is we can always put it in there with a caveat that, one, if we get the quote, the grant, we'll think about it. But also understand, if the board agrees to give you the money to do this and you elect to not do it, that we're not gonna force anybody to spend township money. Right, so if you're like, well, I don't know, if things don't work out, we're gonna regret not getting it, we can always ask for it this year, and then as discussions go forward, if this board thinks that there's other avenues, then we can just not expend that fund. Right, because the budget is just literally, we can't spend more. If we spend less, no one gets mad at you in municipal government. Right, so the goal of this is that, and you're gonna see here in a little bit, I've received some prices for some things, I've added on money because of cost overruns, price increases. And I'm not doing that because I'm saying that's what we're gonna expend, I just wanna make sure that the board is comfortable.
You ask for a lot and take a little.
So we generally, for budgeting, and I'm sorry if I belabor the point, is we underestimate revenue, typically 20%. We overestimate expenditures by 20%. So we have this 40% window. Then if I hit somewhere in that target mark, my hope is that the revenue goes where we think it's gonna be, and our expenditures are gonna be, but if they both just go south and north, the municipality is still safe and comfortable with how the finances are being spent. So the 336, my ask would be, if you're interested, I put that in at 360. Doesn't mean we're gonna spend that, that's just gonna be our ceiling.
And if we decide that we may want to do resurfacing but aren't sure yet, and there's going to be a gap of time, it seems like the biggest concern is the risk of the cracks on the court.
Correct.
So is that something that, like, the road crew will fix?
So you had to buy a product, we actually did that, and we actually had a quote, I'm not sure if we gave that to you. The quote just to fix the cracks on these surfaces, $70,000.
Just fix
And resurface it, and generally, and it's the same company that gave the full quote, they clearly said like, this is a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
So since we filled it, every time you try to fill the cracks, the length of that serviceable window goes down, and I think they did it 3 or 4 years ago, so you might get a year and a half. But the gentleman that gave the quote said, they're not that bad. I mean, I looked at some of the gaps and go, I wouldn't want to play on this, but apparently people play on it worse.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was something that has been like fixed in-house before.
We would have, they've tried it in the past, but again, it's almost like it's a specialty. You would have to clear out the crack, clear out the old stuff, grind it back down, put on this product exactly how it's supposed to be. And I know our road department has bought the product in the past, and they weren't very happy.
But you get about a year out of it.
You get filled cracks. It's not going to be smooth. So you go from having a crack to having a bump, a lump. And we could look at that. That would still probably have to define that product by $15,000.
That just seems to be the biggest concern. Most of you guys, when we were thinking about the priority of the resurfacing, was the town just concerned that somebody gets hurt.
So one of the things, maybe this will make a little bit more at ease. Our insurance company comes out and meets with us every year, and they go over all of our facilities. And then the second thing they do is they actually send out an inspector. And our inspector walks out to our parks and walks around our buildings, and he gives us a report of things that were of concern. And he actually was out here last week, and I asked him about the cracks, and he's like, it's not that bad.
Okay.
And again, generally speaking, municipalities aren't very liable for someone participating in active outdoor activities. It's an act.
It's the park and recreation.
Right, you're gonna run around, you might break your ankle. You skateboard, you might fall down. You might run across the grass and, you know.
Might as well not just from the beach.
Right, so liability for not fixing it is of large concern for me or our insurance carrier.
Okay.
And again, we have just amazing insurance premiums and carriers, so we just pull our insurance in a bunch of state municipalities, all pull their resources together, so we have amazing coverage, and the Commonwealth does ensure that local municipalities don't really have a high risk of providing active recreational activities to their residents.
I was saying, like, in that case, if we're not concerned about the risk, I'm comfortable with what's going until whenever we figure out.
Yes.
So we add an auxiliary parking lot, which hopefully gets people closer to the open space that we would like to create. Is that, that's not far, is that?
If you remove that, if you
Dots,
remove
that's
field
not-
number 3, is that the furthest one up away from the?
Yes, that's what.
And you parked in where the tennis courts are right now, you have direct access to that.
To the new open space, which is going to hopefully be filled with, or not filled, but hopefully a new top lot in there, hopefully.
tennis court and pickleball.
And plus
Tennis,
tennis
pickleball.
courts and basketball.
And the playground equipment that's currently in the back corner,
But, yeah, repurpose it, just.
all on
move
that
it.
good field.
Yeah.
Because I don't really want to rip out the existing courts and put grass down, it doesn't make any sense. So if we want to use a field, you have a parking lot right there.
Right,
You already have a pre-established
right.
parking lot. You know,
I think it really works for when pickleball comes, because what happens is they line that one, like, little lane going up to.
when that's handicap only.
Yeah, but, I mean, they're all
Yes.
parked there.
Right, yeah.
But if you took the courts, put it down where the baseball field is, they could go up there,
Park legally.
and then walk down.
Yeah, it puts everyone closer to the open space, which
Right.
I think our whole goal is to find some open spaces in the park, usable open space in that park.
That open space would be in
For,
the back.
for us, for everyone who doesn't play baseball.
You're removing one activity, which still has 2 fields, and opening up the ability to have a little bit more breathing than that. That part is very,
Is there any concern with the increased traffic at the, or the playground?
no, they park up there. They park up that handicap zone.
I'm saying if we make that whole area up there parking.
That would just be where the courts are, so they would still be offset from, you still have the trail system in between, you have grass and trail in between that parking lot.
Yeah, I'm talking about if we make the tennis and pickleball courts
Lower?
parking. No, I'm saying
Oh,
that
Up
becomes
there.
parking,
There.
you'll have more people driving, right?
Right, but people are already driving past it now. That's my point, like,
Yeah, not,
that,
probably not as many though.
no, it's filled. No, it's always filled.
And there's a lot there, right?
Yeah, most people park there first,
But
when they
if
should.
you look at the footprint lines.
And just, again, you know, that top lot doesn't belong there. It doesn't belong where there's foul balls coming over.
Where's this coming?
Our landscape architect's like, that's a horrible location, because it's in that square between, like, so that doesn't belong there.
The unique, spaces out where
Right, but if you move the top lot, there's nothing saying that you can't make a
Oh, so
larger.
that'll
area.
get removed.
You could have a full baseball field to put basketball, tennis, pickleball, and probably playground equipment twice the size of what we currently have.
So we're saying, more or less, swing the basketball and baseball courts to the baseball field and make basketball courts and tennis courts park.
Parking.
Okay.
And then the top baseball field, you can make, yeah.
I mean, that's got a ledge.
So I don't want to get too off track, but I'm hearing that you're interested in maybe looking at that.
Yeah.
So at that point, I will just take this $360,000 ask off. Because we have other stuff in it, right? The other thing I believe you guys would like, one, we're gonna resurface the parking lot. And if, we'll probably do that sooner than later, that's probably $40,000. That'll probably come out of maintenance that we put in every year. I heard that you guys want to resurface the walking trail. Is there interest in repaving the walking trail?
Does that work with the resurfacing, that's like, would it just be a continuation of the resurfacing?
That's asphalt. Well, probably not. No, you have to specialize that out. Again, that's specialized, that's a small mill head.
6 foot trail.
Yeah, but that's probably 40,000. Right. So,
Actually, we're really interested in a larger walking trail around the perimeter of the park.
Could we, or even could we just expand the one that we have?
Well, so on the one plan, it shows like an actual walking trail that goes down, like closer, like between the stream and now the skate park,
Mhm.
to the corner, around, and then it goes, actually has us putting in 2 walking bridges, one to go over the thing on one side, go up and around the back, and then come back, go over the other side and connect.
Yeah, so those are very expensive because they go through wetlands and woodlands, and you have to have all kinds of permits, and you have to build those bridges to a very specification.
So it's probably not.
Expensive.
So here's what I would say, again, 'cause this is the first year that you guys are actually doing the budget. I would say, how about we focus on fixing things that need to be fixed, right? I believe you want to add the disc golf course, which again, I'll say is $20,000. I believe you guys should have access to supplies that you guys want to buy, so I think you should ask for $3,000. So if you want to buy shirts or food or whatever, you shouldn't be paying for that out of your pocket. So, if we're talking resurfacing of the parking lot of $40,000, resurfacing a walking trail 40, disc golf, I'm gonna say 20, because I know it's about $12,000, but we're gonna wanna buy shirts and frisbees and have events and have vendors, and there could be costs. Again, not saying we have to spend 20, but if you only ask for 12,
That's
once
all
you
you
get
get.
12.5, you're done.
Yeah.
Your guy came in $100 under the competitive bid specs at 12.5, at 12.6, we'd have to get 3 other bids. I don't know if that's intentional on his part, or not.
Well, it's smart.
If it was smart. And then if you don't want to do the trail or the court resurfacing, maybe it's ideal to maybe ask the board to have, the landscape architect come back and maybe revisit the master plan at an additional cost. And then maybe this board could maybe have a clearer idea with maybe some guidance from the board of supervisors, how much we're willing to spend, because again, there's no direct funding source, so it gets funded through the general funds.
That's my concern in converting the existing courts to parking and having to build new courts. We're up to $2 million, just with those kind of things.
So you're not gonna get anything for free, but I hate to say that you resurface those courts and then you lock out an ideal parking. And again, here's the thing.
No, and I'm already
What-
spending the 360 right now.
But what I'm saying is you could spend some money to talk and revisit the jump plan, and then maybe by this time next year, you have a clearer focus of what the park should start looking like in 2025.
Big projects.
Right, so maybe this year is just like, let's start setting some achievable goals, right? Because this is the first time you're going through the budget process. And again, I apologize for not showing it up, but, we plan a year ahead. So while I hear amazing ideas, generally I need to hear those thoughts of what those costs would be a year in advance. So if you start working with the landscape architect, over a couple of meetings, and you get a revisited phase 2, 3, and 4, you see what those numbers are, you pare it down, you get it to a comfortable area, and then the next part, my job is to, how do we fund it?
Can we, at least I'd like to see the budget, we talk trees. Can we budget the planting of at least 10 or 20 trees throughout the park if we don't have them next year? But as we're talking with the landscape architect.
Yeah, how much you want? What kind of trees? So here's the thing, you can ask for whatever you want,
Right.
right? And it's my job to justify what is good and what's bad. What
We need
is good.
shade, even if it's around that little bit of open space on the other side of
Sure.
the skate park with a couple big
So,
kids. We would have swimming schools.
so we'll just do a landscaping,
I think it's coming in under a proposal. Right?
what's that?
Or it's coming in under a proposal.
Yeah, I have.
So she's actually
So
gonna-
it's gonna be changed.
Just wanted to let you know.
Do you have a ballpark?
How much money? Well,
Add a zero.
No. I'll double it.
so my family obviously has a tree farm down the road, and we specialize in very high quality, like some of the highest quality you'll get on the East Coast. So I love when we use our trees because I know they're gonna last and they're gonna live. And structurally, we'll be able to limb them up so people can walk under them and whatnot. So we'd like to donate some trees, so I just did the installation cost.
Okay.
However, most of the time, like, they'll take the cost of the tree and multiply by 2.5, like, that's the industry average.
Sure.
But my question is, like, so if you do that, we wanna do 5 trees, it's probably about $3,000, just an installation.
So if I was Joe Schmo and you were donating, what's the cost? 6?
Depends what size tree you want, how many will come in.
I want 10 trees that will make my personal part of my home look nice.
We'll
Give
do
me a ballpark quiz.
2-inch caliper, or 5-inch? I did a budget based off of, 2.5-inch caliper.
So that's what you would recommend to me if I wanted to put them in my home and have a nice.
Probably.
Okay,
Because they're also easy to handle.
okay, awesome.
Like, I figure our road crew could even install.
Sure.
So if the installation is $3,000 for 5 trees, should that be what I'm asking for? With the idea that we can also install it ourselves?
So I look at it, if you weren't who you were and did own a tree.
If I'm
How
asking,
much
if
would
I
a
know
tree
nothing about
cost
this.
in-
Right, if I went to Joe Schmo's landscaper and asked for exactly what you're telling me I should buy, what would that person quote me as somebody that owns a
Install,
Yeah,
Tree and install.
but we're gonna do it.
I'm not asking that.
Okay,
Just
all
go
right,
with that.
so in that case, let me see quick math. If you're doing 2.5-inch trees,
Mhm.
figuring just like a basic shade tree,
Yep.
which I have available,
Mhm.
how many do you want?
10. That's what I want, 10.
87.50.
8,000 cents to make it 10.
But we don't offer installation, and a lot of that cost is the trees which will donate.
And the reason why I ask that is that I'd much rather ask for what it would cost if you weren't who you were. For the sheer fact that, say for some reason you're like, oh, it fell through, we couldn't get the trees, we sold out, I'm sorry.
Some of them to California.
So, yeah, that, you got sold, and yeah, listen, yeah, we would be surprised, and we've budgeted for it, I just wanna tell someone like, so I budget worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, I don't use you, I'm gonna buy full price, it's 10,000. With the understanding, my off, well, and again, I would need to know if this is a firm offer from you that you donate the trees. Say, like, I budget for 10, some are saying it will cost us because they're donating the trees 3. My recommendation is take the offer of 3. Still want to budget for 10, is the case.
Okay, so you want me to put the trees included in the,
You're telling me if we did this agreement with you, it would cost the township how much?
10, but you're paying somebody else to install it?
Okay.
That's what we're asking, is what it would cost.
Yeah, 10, probably.
Okay.
10 for just the
Yeah.
trees or with installation?
That's with install.
Okay.
Okay, so
But that's
what
what
you
you
want to
need
do
to
is budget for 10, but then also in your proposal, list it.
Yeah, that's
You
what
plan on
I,
getting.
Oh, that's what I'm
donations.
saying. So I'm looking worst case scenario, I don't want you to give me a proposal like that, I want to give you the proposal that you told me that you're
yeah.
willing to donate the trees, and if we're willing to install them, the cost is manpower on our end, right?
Yes, so, you want me to include the installation cost, or assume that?
No, just give me whatever you,
Okay.
you wanna
I'll give
donate?
2 options.
yes.
Okay.
But when I go back to the board, I always want to say, like, we have a generous offer from
Okay.
from a business and a resident, and some, from the moms who are on our committees here, and that we should generously accept it and be very thankful. However, I look at realistic costs, and if this falls through and you guys want them, I don't want to say, sorry, you didn't follow through, we can't get our stuff.
Yeah.
Or if you donate 4 trees and they budgeted the 10,000 for 10, we can maybe have 14 trees.
Yeah. Just-
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So don't change anything you're doing, I'm just trying to
Oh, okay.
devil advocate in my head, like,
Okay.
again, this is how I budget, worst case scenario.
Because I filled out the paper Miranda gave us, and I just want to make sure that I'm filling out right.
Yeah, you give me what you think that is, my ask of the board, I look at it a little bit different. Like, we're getting a new quote for a generator,
Yeah.
I've added 20%. I'm not telling the bidder to give me a bid for 20 more, I'm just forecasting like, you know, they hook it up and have our propane leaks out, and I have to go out and look for it, you know, some propane, it's $600. I'm sorry, I have to, you know, so I look at weird stuff.
Yeah, no, that's fine, I just wanna make sure that we're on the
Yeah,
same
yeah, I
page.
don't want you to change anything, I'm just
Okay.
looking at, I look at money differently than most people, because it's money that's really going out of everyone's pocket, sitting up there, and it's not coming out of mine. And I want to make sure that when I ask the board to spend taxpayer dollars, that we're doing it in a safe and appropriate manner. Okay, so what I'm hearing is, yes, on resurfacing the parking lot, and that comes out of the 60,000 that we auto transfer.
Will removing that item be part of that?
Yes. Resurfacing the existing walking trail, again, I don't have a price yet, we're gonna get a price for that, and we'll have a price for the parking lot before we ask.
Resurface it,
And
you
the
just want to
vendor.
put stone down?
On the parking lot, no, we paid it.
No,
No,
no.
no, the walking trail, right? There.
So if you're gonna put stone, you'd have to make it ADA compliant, and that stuff is over to
I drove by, is it Westland? Yeah. And there's two kids on, probably the gravel dirt. I thought they had smoke bombs or something. They were shuffling their feet that bad. You know what I mean? And it looked like.
It's a lot more maintenance for stone.
See much more customer.
Yeah, and again, we wanna make an enjoyable experience for the people that are gonna walk on the trail, it's not a huge trail.
And wheelchairs, we did have wheelchairs.
That's not a lot of time on that trail.
We usually do it.
The baby service.
If, actually, the only thing that really needs to happen is where the trail meets the road, water accumulates right there. And I don't know if we need for a storm drain.
Water meets the parking, where the trail meets the
So-
parking lot?
No, where
When
the
you're
little
going
trail
towards the
meets
back.
the, like, right next to the bridge,
Yes.
we always get a giant puddle right there.
Okay, so we, that just might be some, building up with that, show, yeah, some grading.
Otherwise,
I thought it was okay.
Okay. So-
there's two spots. There's that spot, and as you round the corner, it gets muddy.
What?
When you're rounding where the,
Yeah, up by the batting cages.
thank you.
So I'm hearing you're not interested, and again, we can use part of that 60 grand of repair just to patch that.
Yeah.
So-
Patching makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because we don't know what we're doing yet with the rest of the park, and they.
So I want you to make that a line item, because that just comes generally out of maintenance.
Okay.
Okay? So, we're down to researching the parking lot. Disc golf, I have your proposals.
Did you, so the
In the
total
back.
was the one in the back, it's the 14,606.
Yeah. I'll still ask for 20.
That's fine.
And again, understand, like, that doesn't mean we're
No, I
encouraging anybody spending. I'm just saying, like, if you
Just-
come back and you say we want special logo t-shirts and widgets, I'm gonna say, okay, that falls within, they'll be buying widgets.
And it'll be nice to
What's
get
the
some sort
difference?
of.
Really, the widget, it's a fake product.
Oh.
So when you're describing
yeah,
manufacturing,
yeah, okay.
we just,
Okay.
yeah, I think I just with my accountant yesterday.
What?
a widget is.
Sorry.
It's a fake thing, so
So
you don't have to
this-
describe it.
This
This is the total here.
This is just for the job, this is his quote. The back is, that wrapped in with all of the other materials that we would need to build boxes.
So does this include the box? So does his quote include the boxes?
Yep.
Okay,
Well, his quote, no. The 14,600, yes. Because,
Includes his quote and the boxes.
yes, because the only thing he doesn't provide is, it depends on the, you know, the wood that we want to use and stuff like that. We are getting the turf from him for the boxes.
So,
so it's not 12.5 and then an additional 14.6. It's,
14,600 total.
okay, because you have this cost
Yeah, I see.
estimate materials only, but this is installed with this stuff, right? Where,
Yeah, that's
so the
everything.
14.6 is
Everything
the
put
12.5.
plus.
Plus
okay.
2,100 for the materials to make the boxes.
Okay, you would make the boxes, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Who's doing the installation?
I thought we said that, the guys were willing to do it. The road
The township?
So does this include the layout?
Yes.
Okay,
The
because he was a
design.
little hesitant to share
Yeah,
his
well,
trade secrets.
no, I think the layout is, it's hard to see in black and white,
Yes.
but it's on that third.
Yes, and that's his layout.
Yes.
Well, because when he was on Zoom, he didn't share it.
Yeah, I had to ask him a bunch of times.
Oh, okay.
Well, 'cause I
Finally,
think it's because it's like his
Yeah, he
intellectual
came
property,
out like
that
3
type of-
times, laid it all out, and then he's like, what do you mean you're not doing it? He's like, you want me to give that to you? I'm like, we're not gonna use it if we don't do it. We'd have to do something else.
I think he just has to understand as a municipality, we're not gonna sign a check that the
Yeah.
product we have to look for.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, but yes, we don't use, so, you know, the person that is doing our skate park originally gave us our design, and, you know, it was a struggle because he was gonna bid on it, but he wasn't willing to allow us to use it, so we actually had to pay him as a subcontractor to do signed, sealed engineering plans, so we put it out for public bid. So I understand, like, we paid him.
It's the same idea, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's his intellectual property.
Okay, because I thought when he said he was gonna come out and supervise it.
He is. He said he has a day in there to come out and supervise the installation of at least a handful of boxes.
Okay, so he's acting as a supervisor, not as a hands-on. So,
Right.
okay. All right. So I don't know if our group has time to do that or not.
Okay.
I don't know how much time it takes to install.
I have no idea. I think he said it's maybe an hour each.
Okay.
I mean, you're only talking 2x4s or
So you're only installing the box, you're grading and installing.
install the box, put stone in, tamp it down, and then you just affix the turf to the top,
Okay.
and you're done.
I could probably talk Don with that, but, all right.
You
So,
can also try for some volunteers.
Yeah, we can also do that too. Like, we can talk to the Boy Scouts or
sure,
whoever.
okay.
Or show up.
If you're allowed to have volunteers work with the
Yeah, yeah.
township guys.
Okay, so I think I have resurfacing the parking lot, we'll have a bid, but I'm assuming it's about 40,000. Patching of the trail system, that just comes out of maintenance for next year. This off 20 grand. Give you guys a $3,000 stipend for supplies for any type of activities you guys decide to do. during the
Fun
course of the
Friday.
year. Fun Fridays, yeah, if you want to host an event for disc golf or something like that. Landscaping, hardscaping, summer, you'll give me that amount. I'll just budget for 10. And then, maybe some additional money to meet with the landscape architect to revisit.
Yeah, because that would be, we've got a nice new group here that can kind of sit back and breathe.
Correct.
So those trees were for landscaping, excuse me, more, those trees were for landscaping around
So that was gonna be my question.
the skate.
When we were initially thinking about it, just on with the Fridays, we were thinking that to make it rather than this like $100,000 landscaping plan, for us as a board to every year try to contribute something like landscaping wise to the park. So we had originally said like maybe 5 trees spread out throughout, and that's when we were thinking about maybe having some more open space and shade and things like that. But I also know that there's virtually no landscaping around the skate park. So where do you guys feel that we should go with this proposal? Do you want, because I mean,
So what you're gonna hand me for the capital project is just cost. It's not location or offers, like, it's just.
but what do we want to ask
How
for?
many trees?
Maybe more than 10.
Like, I wouldn't think we'd want to do more than 10, because we should see what the skate park looks like.
Yeah.
But if it's also like, if we ask for 20 and we decide we only want to do
You
10.
could, yeah, you can, yes, you can use less. And again, typically you don't want to cover facilities. You want facilities seen from the street. Quite honestly, you
Yeah.
want that skate park to be screaming out to every single kid that drives your car. You don't want to hide the skate park. You literally want to scream, it's a skate park, please. I actually saw some skateboarders for the first time ever skating down the park. Skating on the street.